Sorry, guys. S- Maybe my first space. I don't know. So I kind of blew that one. We had a few people in here, and I inadvertently ended it. So sorry about that. I think we have Eric. I'll get you up here. Nick, I'll get you up here. I don't know where Puncher is. All right, there's Eric. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Doing really well, man. Getting some sunshine here in El
Nice.
Salvador.
Oh, you're down
Yes.
there now, huh?
Yeah, we got in late Sunday night. So,
Nice.
yeah,
Very,
it's
very
fucking
nice.
awesome, man. Yes. How you
Yes.
doing?
Okay.
Enjoying
I'm
Northern California?
I'm Yes, sir. I don't know. I'll drop the bomb and just say we're basically neighbors for
Totally.
the time being. For the time being. So I've actually visited Eric in kind of his hometown, very very close, within a couple miles of his hometown anyway, or his house actually. So we live in the same area so far, but who knows? With the way things are going, you may not. There's end up here,
Yeah.
and you know, looks like.
Yes. El Salvador is very alluring, dude. And my wife absolutely loves it. She's pretty adamant upon having our next child down here. And so we're gonna be here till the 4th, and we're going back home for a couple of weeks, and we're coming back around Christmas, and I'm gonna stay through January
Oh
and
man.
play in the Max and Stacy Invitational, which I'm really excited about.
Sweet.
Yeah,
I really had an amazing time with you down in okay, there's Puncher. Down in Southern California. Um, for me it's not about like the event and who organizes it or what entity or company or individual. It's about the camaraderie, and it's about the relationships. And I really want to, my message to be one of unity. And I don't give a crap about if you like the power law or if you don't like the power law, or if you know what I mean, if you partake of the herb. I don't really care. You know what I mean? So I'm definitely a fan of the unity, the times we had before and after the conference, and us going out and having a couple drinks together, and like that was just amazing. What a great group of people. The Bitcoin community has some of the smartest, just honest, friendly, kind. Like it's just an amazing group of people so far, and I'll probably say that it'll probably be the early adopters, those who, saw what was coming in advance and were able to wrap their mind around it, that really are that group. And then as we have these crazy pumps like we're experiencing now and more people come in, I'm not sure that the community will be the same. So I'm thinking, some of these future conventions may not quite have that same vibe and that same feel and that same group. So really trying to enjoy these get-togethers and make connections with these folks now. So I don't know how you guys feel about that.
dude, I'm right there with you. I've so last year I went to Pacific Bitcoin. That was my first conference, and so I had a fantastic time. It's so interesting meeting other Bitcoiners after being a hardcore Bitcoin maxi for many years, living in my little quiet bubble, yelling at the same 20 people about Bitcoin for the last, I don't know, since 2017. And I've gone to several conferences this year, and it's really uplifting. It's like positive energy. Everybody is, as American Hodl says, rationally optimistic. And I find that I struggle to socialize with non-Bitcoiners because the conversation ends up being political. People are complaining, oh, Bidenomics, this, that, and the other thing. Things are so hard. And it's like the conversation, I'm sure as you know, always leads back to the corruption of money in Bitcoin. And so if people don't understand that, I find that I struggle to connect with people. And the thing that I really enjoyed about the conference in Santa Monica was the unconference format, having the, little circles and conversations. Somebody lays out, their presentation, their keynote, or whatever point they're talking to, and then it just turns into a large group conversation, which I think was fantastic. I go to these conferences and I don't really listen to the keynote speeches because you can see them all on YouTube. What I do is I just bop around and talk to all the other Bitcoiners. And so, yeah, connecting with people, it's like such a hack in so many ways to find other like-minded individuals. And I find that like at least half or more of your core values are aligned when you're dealing with other people who understand Bitcoin. Even people who get Bitcoin, because like all shitcoiners have some Bitcoin position, the connection's not there because they haven't had that like come to Jesus moment where they actually figure out that everything's going to collapse into Bitcoin. And the idea that we need other altcoins is so preposterous. I've had so many conversations with Bitcoiners who are into altcoins, and I'm just like, and I think we were actually at dinner, we were chatting with somebody, and I'm like, he is building some, I don't know, some platform that'll interface, some shitcoin that'll interface with Bitcoin somehow. And I'm just like, look, why aren't all these altcoins just layer twos on top of Bitcoin? For the most part, because people are dumping on retail. They need to find, that exit liquidity. So it's like, yeah, I got this new Bitcoin project. Oh, it's this new thing. It's got some new bells, some new whistles or whatever. And it's, the community outside of Bitcoin is clearly not the same as it is with Bitcoiners. So yeah, I had a fantastic time. And yes, and we're neighbors, and even though we're 3 hours away where we live, people are like, "Yeah, tell them I'm in Northern California," and they're like, "Oh, San Francisco area." I'm like, "No, it's 5 hours north of San Francisco." So, anyways, pumped to be, involved in the community, meeting other people. It's really been life changing in a lot of ways. So, yeah, that's what I think, man.
Yeah, Nick was there. Puncher's getting back up on the stage.
Yeah,
Nick.
right on. That's actually super funny, Eric, that you mentioned that about Northern California, because I get the same thing, and Asteroid can verify this, but I get the and or also Jordan, if he's creeping on here, he's a lurker. But that's what I get in Illinois. It's like, yeah, out there in California, it's like everything is centered on LA, right? So yeah, San Francisco to the LA people is Northern California. Like, no, motherfucker. Like, we got 5 more hours of state past San Francisco, and we get the same thing. I'm like dead nuts in the center of the state, right? And we think of Southern Illinois as like real hicks because they start to have accents and stuff. But the Chicago people call us Southern Illinois. I'm like, no, I'm in Central Illinois, and you're just in Chicago, and you're totally separate.
Wrong. You're in Southern Illinois.
Well, yeah, you're from Chicago.
No, you're right. Champaign isn't really like the rest of the Southern Illinois. I mean, some parts of it are just so. I don't want to be disrespectful, but you know what I mean. And so poor, it's like, it's mind blowing how like much more advanced and like richer and more things there are over here. But that's the way Champaign is too. It's not like the rest of it. I don't think people
Yeah.
realize how poor some of it is. Like, it's
Shame
crazy.
on you, Asteroid.
So
That's not
that's one of
nice.
the beautiful things is about this unconference that we did was like, oh, you really get to see some people in your regions, and I thought that aspect was super cool. And then yeah, very high level conversation with the invite only aspect of it, which was really refreshing. Um, and yeah, high level conversation, man, and respectful too. That was really good. We were all like
Yes.
same direction, trying to solve stuff. I thought that was fantastic.
Even in the Uber, right, Nick? Had some good, deep conversation in the Uber.
I
So,
The
still, I
Uber at
still,
4 a.m.
yeah. And thanks for that. I know you paid for the Uber. I forgot
I
to
know
chip in, but
it was cheap. It was cheap. It was just a few sats, but
I'm
yeah.
not used
hey,
to
let me,
drinking three beers. I was pretty toasted.
Oh
Nick.
god, I lost something. I can't remember what it was, and then I was putting poor freaking Eric and Chardonnay. I'm like digging through my backpack. It was like my room key. Oh, that's right. It was my room key. It was 4 in the friggin' morning. I didn't have my room key, and the Canadians didn't have their room because one Canadian dude didn't have his. So yeah, it was a bonding experience. It was
Great times.
yeah.
Nick,
Before we turn it over to Puncher, anybody that usually doesn't speak, fly up here because there's not that many people in the room, and not to diss on Puncher or anything, but I like to hear a lot of different perspectives. So if you normally don't talk, jump in this room. It's a good one to just, if you can. I know a lot of people listen at work, but we would love to hear. Like honestly, the people that I met at a lot of different conventions are phenomenal. Their stories are incredible, and everybody's perspective I would love to hear. So don't be shy. Jump up on the stage. Puncher, what's up, man?
Hey guys, sorry I'm having some Wi-Fi problems. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, Eric, where are you in El Salvador, bud?
I am in La Libertad, or what? Let me. I have
You're
to look
down
at
the
the
beach. You're
map
down the beach.
actually here. Yes, I am in. Where the fuck am I? Yeah, yeah, I'm right here on the coast in La Libertad.
Oh, okay,
Like I
cool.
don't know, quarter of a mile from the
Well,
coast.
that's
Yeah, getting some sunshine, man. I live in the rainforest. It's cloudy and cold and dreary all winter long, so I'm pumped to be
Hey,
not
Eric,
there
are
this
you
winter.
are you allowed
Yeah.
to do you have a confidentiality agreement or anything about the upcoming podcast you're on? Are you allowed to say anything about it, or are you supposed to keep that tight-lipped?
No, no
So
confidentiality
you're
agreements at all. I'm
you
gonna
doing on
be
Mike?
Actually, I'll be on a Sovereignty Studios podcast here in, I don't know, at 1 o'clock. I think they stream live. Then Luke Mickek hit me up. He wants to record a podcast at the retreat when he's down here, probably, I don't know, the 12th or something. I think I'm on FRAT's You're the Voice podcast as well coming up. So those are the three that I've got coming up here in the future.
what about
Yeah, so I'm in Playa San Blas, Puncher. Playa San Blas.
Sound Blast? Oh, yeah. Hey, what about the last one? I just saw one uh that you were on, that you were spitting some fire, telling truths. What was the most recent one you did?
I believe it was What's Your Bitcoin Story?
Ah, right. Yep, that was
Yeah, it
it.
was
Uh,
awesome.
Yeah.
yeah, that was a fun conversation. I enjoy the podcast. You know what I've struggled with is that I've had to do, I haven't had to, but I've been invited to do several keynote speeches. One in Madeira, one in Portugal, one in Arnhem. Dude, the public speaking is a challenge. You get on stage and like every cell in my body is like, "What are you doing?" Like all these people are looking at you, and so the podcast I've come to really enjoy though. Those conversations are fun, but I still struggle a little bit with the public speaking. But I think that's a common thing. I really have a lot of an immense level of admiration for the people who travel around the world and just lay out these epic speeches all the time because it's not easy, man. It is fucking
Well,
hard.
I'll tell you, the more you do it, the easier it gets. Like I don't know, in the military, you had a brief all the time. You were always in front of your peers talking, so you get used to it. But somebody told me once, more people are afraid of public speaking than they are of dying. So that means if you're at a funeral, you'd rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy, which seems kind of silly, right?
Yeah, it is totally. But you know what? I think it's hardwired into our genetic code to want to be socially accepted. The people who were ostracized many thousands of years ago, they died alone in the woods. So like it's hardwired into us to want to be socially accepted. And that's like it's a vulnerable thing when you have all those eyes on you and you're standing there. But like you said, it's I guess it's exposure therapy. The more you do it, the easier it is. And I've also come to a place where like even if I say something stupid, like I don't give a fuck. Like I might be wrong, but I believe Bitcoin is right. And so in some sense, like as long as you got Bitcoin in your sales, you're going the right direction in life. And so the other thing too, though, is that the Bitcoin community is so like endearing and welcoming that I have found that like everybody's loving. I've had and I'm shocked actually too in my Twitter presence. I've had very very little hate. The only time I get any hate is when somebody says something stupid about cannabis, which I'm totally fine with. Like I'm a freedom maximalist. If you don't like cannabis, that's cool. I'm not trying to make anybody smoke weed. I don't know. If anybody's watched any of my content, I very rarely even acknowledge the fact that I'm making videos in a greenhouse facility. I'm here for Bitcoin and freedom, and that's it really. And the community, community of
Absolutely.
people is fantastic.
Yeah, Eric.
I can't even believe the amount of friends I've made this year. It's incredible.
Yeah, and they're good people.
Absolutely
I
incredible.
when I first met with Eric over in his hometown area, um, I was drinking, and he's not a drinker, and he may have or may not have partaken of the herb, and I am kind of not doing that at this point in my life. So we just respect and love each other. That's another thing about, just overlooking things that we disagree on or whatever. It's not that I disagree on it, it's just not for me, and it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, I was raised in a super very ultra conservative Mennonite church, actually. So, it was extremely taboo, extremely no, no, it's a sin, it's dope, it's but I've since really come around a long way. I'm of the opinion it should just be legalized, and it's a non-issue. So even actually having did a few years stint of actually growing myself, so I've come full circle from how I was raised and whatnot. And to me, it's just such a non-issue that it's actually ridiculous that people even fight about things so trivial. So I love Eric. He's an amazing guy. I'm super lucky that I've gotten to know him and count him as one of my dear friends. So Eric, I love you, man.
Yeah, I love you too, buddy. You know what? But that brings a quick thought that I'll share. One of the things that I find very interesting about the controversy around so many things, and cannabis specifically, there's a lot of people that don't believe cannabis should be legal. They think it's bad for you, and that's fine. They're welcome to their opinions. But I will say, though, if you legalize something and it's high in demand, as Jeff Booth says, the prices fall to the marginal cost of production. What ends up happening is the incentive for the criminal activity decreases because the value of whatever it is that people want will decrease as the supply satiates demand. And yeah, so I think that what's taking place with cannabis is quite interesting, and that the stigma is definitely dwindling. I think that as more people know, people who smoke weed and they realize like, hey, this person's not a total degenerate. I don't think this is a bad thing. you know and another element to it too is I think that we're going to be in for federal legalization sooner than later, because the government, there's a multifaceted idea here. The government wants to get rid of cash. They want to get rid of cash, and they're broke, and they need to tax whatever industries they can. So I think there's a huge incentive for that to come. And over time, once again, the value of the product will continue to decrease. People's perspectives will change. And I've been told by a handful of people too, that are in the inner circle, dealing with Bukele and some of his political peers, that there's intention to decriminalize cannabis or make it legal for medical purposes here in El Salvador. So I think that would be interesting to see. And then lastly, I'll say, in your defense, Nick, you lost your key after we smoked like 3 or 4 4-gram joints. So it wasn't a total flub there. We were in the cosmos, you could say. So
Touche.
yeah. Anyway,
Hey,
So
another El Salvador fan is on stage, and actually does live down the road from me as well. Pursuing Freedom. He's got a motorcycle tour through El Salvador planned. When are you heading down there, Pursuing Freedom? What can you tell us about your event? Puncher's on the stage. Eric's up here. Eric's in El Salvador right now. Puncher's building a hotel and home and other things, businesses there. Pursuing Freedom, are you available to talk to us right now? I guess not. Take yourself off mute and just jump up on stage. I interrupted you, Puncher, so go ahead. And if Pursuing Freedom he may be flying a plane right now because he's also a pilot. But
Ah, cool.
hopefully, yeah, go ahead.
Well, so I love to get together with Eric. I know you got a busy schedule down there, but I'll be down there, I guess, around the 15th ish. But it's pretty cool. If you don't know, El Salvador, the coastline runs east-west. It's very unique that way, which forms some unbelievable waves, like almost every day, 6 to 8 foot waves every day if you're into surfing, 85 degrees. The coastline's amazing. It goes from black sand in the west, which is volcanic, but it's very fine black sand, to some rocky beaches, and then in the undeveloped portion of the country to the east, it's all white sandy beaches, which are completely undeveloped. And that's where a lot of if you ever wanted to get down there and land speculate, they're building a 4-lane highway now that runs with all the mechanicals and sewer and public water and electric and things like that are going to run the coastline. So, I mean, if you're looking to make an investment in a country, I would say El Salvador is a great place, and things are moving rather quickly. You've got the diaspora, which are all the people who left El Salvador from the war and the gangs that moved to the United States and prospered, are all looking to move back now because they see kind of some of the pathologies that happened in El Salvador starting to manifest here in the United States, unfortunately. So they're coming back. You've got expats from all around the world searching freedom, for freedom, like myself. Matter of fact, I looked at Madeira first because there was some talk about Madeira, being Bitcoin, but they're kind of part of the EU, and that was kind of a turnoff to me. So I've done the due diligence. El Salvador is the place. And then you've got obviously Bitcoiners coming down there, very talented people in all aspects. Some just want to live the Bitcoin life and let their money work for them, but others are wired differently and see just massive opportunity down there. I always say, the same thing I always say. I feel like a little bit like a mosquito in a nudist colony down there. I'm not quite sure where to start, so I got my hands in a couple different businesses. But the people are awesome. The people who are coming there are awesome. Um, Educated. The cost of labor is pretty low. The quality of life is coming up. They're going to have a burgeoning middle class soon that needs to be catered to in so many different ways. I can't say enough good things about the country and the vibe down there and where it's headed. And I think it's going to be the Singapore of the Western Hemisphere. So whatever, I'll stop talking, but very cool place to be.
Question for you, Puncher. So on that, for someone from the outside looking in, when you're talking about the various developments, what kind of a dollar amount are we talking about if someone, wants to have a little spot down there? Well, it's just for entry. What's the range?
It all depends. I don't want to be like the one-armed economist who says, but on the other hand, it depends. There was definitely an increase in prices down where like the beach is, El Zonte. Um, what's the other one? El Zonte and Altunca. Those there. If you come down the one main highway to the beach, and if you don't know, El Salvador kind of gradually slopes up like mountainous terrain from the beach all the way up to San Salvador. San Salvador is about 5 million people, so think Phoenix, think Philadelphia, that size, but really crammed in a lot tighter. The rest of the country is rather undeveloped, and then when you go down to the beach from the top of the mountain, which is the mountains are where San Salvador start. Then you get down to the beach, and then you're at sea level. If you make a right, which is where Eric is right now, that's kind of being developed. They're building new supermarkets, new stores. I opened a business there for 30 grand, right? All in. I bought my house. I bought a pretty big lot and I spent about 300 grand on the lot. And I would say to build a house is about 100 bucks a square foot. Now, there are other opportunities, but you'll go down the beach and you'll see some houses and you'll be like, wow, that looks really cool. And then when you get closer, you realize that it's got to be bladed, that it's been left basically abandoned for 50 years. The wealthy families that built them a long time ago have all since left. There are families that stay there that kind of quote unquote take care of the property, but really structural issues and things like that. So I guess I'll stop by saying if you want to go to the right, to the west, where everything's kind of being developed already, it's not like United States. Like if you're from California, you're just going to be on a shopping spree, or New York, or most places in the United States. But if you go left and you want to get ahead of the curve a little bit and you want to go to the white sandy beaches, that's where you can get a really nice place and just be ahead of the curve. And by the time you build it, I think development will catch up with that. And that's where all the expansion is going to be anyway. And I would say you could either renovate an old house or build a new house for a couple hundred G's maybe if you want something right on the beach and you want 200 yards of beachfront white sandy property. You're probably looking at, 5 to 700 grand. But I mean, where else in the world can you get limited beachfront property in a beautiful, growing, safe, prosperous country that's on Bitcoin? I can't think of any.
Heck yeah. We've got a author in the audience. He can't talk, he says, because he's at work, but he's the fella who wrote the why or should I should I buy a MicroStrategy book, and also a new secret project coming out, maybe released soon. So we met him in the lobby when we were down in Southern California, and then on the sidewalk. And I didn't put it together that he was the author until he joined us at the pleb party that Anders was hosting. But anyway, he's down there. Hey, what's up, Shant? Good to see you in here. Hope you're having a great day at work. Not to change the subject on you. Puncher, but Fred did start a space, and that's one of the reasons I was getting ants in my pants watching this price action, and I was just going, "Come on, Fred, start a space." So I'm thinking maybe we merge this over. What do you guys think?
Yep.
Yeah,
Sure.
sounds good.
Sure
Let's do
thing.
All
it.
right, man.
Later,
Hey, I
dude.
know Eric, you only had 20 minutes or something anyway, so it was such a pleasure. I love hearing from you always. So if I don't see you,
Yeah, same to
yeah,
See you,
you.
bud.
enjoy your time down there, man.
I
Look forward
will, and
to it.
look forward to seeing
Yeah.
you, Puncher, and still talk to everybody else later. Thank
All
you.
right. Peace out, guys.